Salutations Rangers, General Rally 101 back again with some more lore. But not from the wacky world of 40k today, ladies and gents, because today, boys and girls, we are going to be talking about the latest IP kit on the block, that being Trench Crusade. But before we can get into today's video proper, some housekeeping here and there. Some of you may be asking, hey Brad, Trench Crusade came out a couple months ago. Why are you only talking about it now? Well, that's because I was a little hesitant because of all the controversy that was surrounding it. For those of you who don't know, there have been a lot of controversies in our own real world, with many people throwing accusations and saying that X is Y and that Y is X. As Trench Crusade does indeed share many things with our own real world history, and it has some elements to it, people are claiming that these elements are being used in an inappropriate manner. I will not be getting into this in the slightest bit because y'all know me, I stay away from controversy like a fat kid from a dietitian's office. But I did want to address this. I am aware of it, and I want to note what I'm talking about is purely from a design and aesthetic standpoint, in regards to the lore as well as the world building of the setting. I'm not going to mention any of the real world implications, I'm not going to talk about them, I'm not going to whisper about them, I'm not going to do anything of that. This is not what this video is for. I have no comment on them, and that's that. So again, this video is purely about the lore and the in-universe stuff. Anything relating to it out of universe and what it may represent, I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole. But now that all the legal lawyer shenaniganery is out of the way, let's get into this video proper. First, let's answer, what exactly is Trench Crusade? But if you clicked on this video, you probably already know what Trench Crusade is, but just in case you don't. Trench Crusade is an alternate history slash fiction in regards to science fiction as well as fantasy that takes place circa our year 1914 in the current date. But its original start date goes back to the First Crusade, and it asks the question, what if the Knights Templar accidentally opened up a portal to hell, which would then cause a 1,000-year war between the forces of the faithful, as they are collectively known, and the forces of the heretic. And Trench Crusade basically explores the various factions that have culminated and developed in this alternate history over 1,000 years, with, as I mentioned before, the current date being 1914. And as you can imagine, they are crusading in trenches. Hence, the two main aesthetics being merged here are indeed World War I and the trench warfare, as well as the crusading knightly aspect, as well as the various different aspects of religion, heretics, etc. Now, these are two very fan-favorite aesthetics, and many people have been drawn in by it, but also because of the grimdark setting of it, as it being grimdark is very much a design choice, rather than just something that happened, with the creators of Trench Crusade having former Games Workshop employees within their ranks. So you can imagine the transfer of one-to-one. Now, many people have indeed loved Trench Crusade, and they indeed look at it with fondness in their hearts. But just as many people who love it, there are many people who do not like it in any way, shape or form. Again, as I mentioned before, there's the previous real-world influences that affect it, but also the main critique that I've seen about people is that sometimes the Trench Crusade units just look a little generic. Not all of them, but some of them do. The fact that some of these units are literally just a mishmash of different aspects of our own real world leads to some people claiming that they're bland and uninspired. And in some cases, especially for the heretic as well as the faithful, some regiments and units are just a bit too overdone. There's too much, they're too excessive, they verge on being edgy, quote unquote. But now for the reason you clicked on this video. What are my opinions on Trench Crusade? And per the title of the video, what is it about it that I just don't like? As I mentioned before, this has nothing to do with all the outer world nonsense. But my main issue with Trench Crusade is that I dislike how it treats the dreadful and the divine specifically. For those of you who don't know, the demons of hell have a direct influence on Earth, as well as the Lord above and his angels as well also have a direct influence on Earth. And this is really my main crux of the issue that I have with Trench Crusade. What I really do dislike about it is not to say the factions nor the units involved. There are one or two things that I do kind of agree with, but generally speaking I'd say for the most part the factions are relatively well done. They may not exactly be the greatest, but they do what they're supposed to do. And personally I do love New Antioch. I also love me Prussians, simple as. There are many different design elements and aspects that I do adore, but that isn't really my issue with it. My issue at large is the basis of the world building of Trench Crusade. As I mentioned, that is with the dreadful and the divine. If you read anything about the several demon princes of hell, or how the Lord above interacts with all his people, it doesn't read like heaven and hell. It doesn't read like the divine and the dreadful. It reads like something different. For example, it is said that there are these paladins. These are said to be clones of Jesus Christ. It is also said that they're able to manufacture the blood of Christ and use it in regards to some of their soldiery. In regards to the forces of hell, it is said that the demon princes are able to fight amongst each other and lay claim unto each other's own property, and often their own forces will fight in between each other in the particular realms of the trenches on Earth. It's also said that they will often sabotage each other because they want their own unique goals and of themselves. Now, these two aspects on their own are not really necessarily wrong, but when you put it into context of of what the dreadful and the divine is supposed to be, to me, they are absolutely unnecessary and make a zero lick of sense. Now, why do I say that? Because you are taking something that is supposed to be separated from this mortal realm, and you are making it part of this mortal realm. Now, some people may point and they will say, oh no, that's the purpose of Trench Crusade. I understand that, but there is a limit to how much you can do that before the divine stops being divine and the dreadful stops being dreadful. With Trench Crusade, they're missing that dividing line. I have no problem with there being demons on the field. Say what you will about Warhammer 40k, they actually do this quite well. Demons can exist on the field, greater demons can also exist on the field, but the literal chaos gods will never step out of the realm of chaos. The Emperor of Mankind will never get up from the Golden Throne. There is a line to how much divinity can appear on the mortal realm, and that line is never crossed. With Trench Crusade, I feel like there is no line. Again, back to my previous example. Allegedly, these paladins that are created by the faithful are said to be clones of Jesus Christ. How? In God's good holy name does that even make a lick of sense? Number one. Number two, you are taking something that is supposed to be long gone. Again, the body of Christ is said to not exist anymore. So how did they do this? And again, to my knowledge and to Trench Crusade, this is said to be actually literally word for word. This isn't, propaganda by the church saying that we cloned Christ, which I actually would have preferred more, to be frank. But they say that this is 100%, completely, wholly, utterly, and honestly, the body of Jesus Christ cloned, and there are clones of him. And we have his blood, and we recreate it, but it kind of makes you go crazy. You are taking something that is supposed to be part of the divine, untouched by mortal hands, and you are bringing it into the mud. Now, if it was a case of, oh no, here are some things, we have weapons gifted to us by God, we have metals gifted to us by God, that's one thing. But where is the dividing line? Because if you can take the literal body of the Son of God and have it be made into super soldiers, there is no dividing line. Another thing that I really do dislike. It is said that the forces of hell, the princes of hell specifically, it makes no mention to Satan, nor Lucifer, nor there being a greater aspect of him. But it says that these different factions fight against each other. And the only reason why they haven't fully conquered Earth is because they fight with each other as much as they do with the faithful. Now with that, I get it, but it just doesn't make sense. The forces of hell, why would they not just conquer all of humanity wholesale outright first, and then fight amongst themselves? Why would they choose to actively harm their own individual goals when they could just devour humanity? Because again, they are supposed to be demons, devils, creatures of Satan. Their whole purpose, their whole being for existence is to fight and devour humanity. Humanity is the evil, humanity is the foe, humanity must die because humanity is a representation of what they will never have. That is what they are supposed to be. So why is it that they would stop fighting humanity to fight fellow demons when they're both working towards the same aim? Now you may say, oh no, Brad, they're demons, they're supposed to do that. It's like, no. Here's the thing. These are not the demons of chaos. These aren't the demons from another world. These are supposed to be the demons from our own very own universe, based on the Judeo-Christian values that are very much common to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, meaning that they should act the way that they are depicted as, but they don't do that. And again, we come back round. There is no line for what is divine and what is dreadful. Okay, look, I want to preface this, but I say this, I do like many aspects of Trench Crusade, but this is the main thing that just irks me, and I just don't get it. It feels really like when the people who were creating Trench Crusade, when they decided to create it, they wanted to do something different. But it feels to me like they created a sci-fi pantheon. Like they created the princes of hell that were based off something else, be it whatever fantasy IP. Like even God in our modern context, God in Trench Crusade, he's not God. God in every single depiction of the Judeo-Christian and Islamic values is said to be all-knowing, omnipotent, and all-seeing. But it is said that the demons possess something, a unit, that cannot be seen by God, ever. It is basically outside of God's vision. That one thing alone, imprehensibly, regardless of what they did with the demon princes, the lack of Lucifer or the nonsense with Jesus, that is no longer the God of those religions, of those faiths. It is something different, but they are still claiming that it is that God. And here's the thing that really just comes to the crux of it. There is no barrier. God isn't treated like God. Satan and the demons aren't treated like demons. They are treated like aliens. Honestly, I feel like Trench Crusade would have been more well received, at least into my tastes, if they just said that, oh no, it wasn't actually like the Lord of Hell, like Lucifer isn't, that isn't the demons, it isn't actually God doing this, it is like an archangel or it is a great demon, like what, that's the main guy, right? And then you can do that. But when you take established things that have existed for thousands of years and then you throw them into a setting and you say, okay, this isn't actually how it is, but it kinda is, to me, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sense right. Because again, the biggest aspect of the divine and dreadful, the main thing that makes such settings, you think about major fantasy settings, Tolkien being the greatest example, or you think about Skyrim, or you think about anything, there is a barrier between the dreadful and the divine. There is a line where no one can cross. And that line is that you have the divine right at the very tip top, you then have the dreadful right below them, and then you have humanity. That is how it goes in terms of the hierarchy of the barrier. But with Trench Crusade, there is no barrier. And I understand that the whole idea behind it is that, oh, we silly crusaders, we let demons onto the mortal plane. I understand that, I get that, and I fully accept that. But by the Templars doing that, does it mean that God is no longer God and that Lucifer is no longer Lucifer? That the forces of hell will no longer act like the forces of hell? That the faithful are just able to do weird nonsense anymore? Like, does it break every single established rule? And if you want to do that, that's fine. But then this comes to the second main part of it. You can't attach something that is based in our own real world. You cannot attach it to something that is fictionally but not faithful to it. I feel like that's the big reason why many people don't like Trench Crusade. It doesn't keep faith with what is supposed to be. Because again, if you make a claim that this is the God of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and then you do something that is vehemently opposite to that, if you claim that, oh no, these are the princes of hell from, again, Islam, Judaism, and Christendom, but then they don't act like the princes of hell, then you have many people looking at you like, okay, but this isn't it though, why are you trying to brand it as this? What are you trying to say? And I feel like that leads to a lot of controversy that surrounds Trench Crusade. Because when you have a lot of people looking at you, questioning, prying, and pulling, like, hey, you're not doing the thing that you're going to do, so what exactly are you doing? It's that irony that by them trying to create something, their own unique thing, their own thing that is separate from everything else, they end up, instead of creating good faith, actually sowing bad faith. Because you get people looking at it and they're saying, oh, well, this is actually not what it's supposed to be, so then what are you really trying to do? It's rather odd, and again, I have no qualms with the people who made Trench Crusade. I'm not saying that Trench Crusade is bad or anything, just that me personally, there are things that I love and there are things that I really dislike, and this is the main thing here. Honestly, I believe that if Trench Crusade was created again, if you swap out the aliens, right? It's not actually God from Christianity or Islam or Judaism. It's not exactly the Satans from those three religions either. It is, aliens. That'll make sense. Or it's like an archangel, a brand new named archangel, right? Whatever. Something completely made up and brand new, specifically for Trench Crusade. A demon prince made specifically for Trench Crusade, and they're the ones doing it. That means that people won't get upset by it because they're not saying like, hey, where is the branch here? It also separates the divine and the dreadful from the mortal plane. Yes, there can be some crossover, but now you're treating God and Satan like they're mortal living human beings when fundamentally they are not. They are meant to be the divine and the dreadful in equal manner. That's the whole point of them existing, is the fact that they are not human beings. Yet, when you read some of the stories, when you read how it goes, and then you see the lore behind it, it's very human. It's too human. There is no dreadful and there's no divine, which means that when you have a setting like this, they're supposed to be based off those two, but the dreadful and divine are no longer what they're supposed to be, it just ends up coming up like mush. It's basically nothing then. It's quotes an extra of everyone's special, no one is. And honestly, that is my main issue with Trench Crusade. There is no separation between the dreadful and the divine and the mortal realm, and then it just kind of ruins it, because every aspect that I see that is done right, I'm like, okay, you have saints that became martyrs. Great, cool, awesome, excellent. But in the same vein, if you have stuff that can literally create reconstructions of Jesus Christ, why do these matter? Because it's like, that's no longer divine anymore, so what are these guys doing? They're not actually divine martyred saints, they're just like martyrs from our own real world. Then if that's the case and divinity is lost, why not just have it be then set in our own real world? Because we had martyrs, we had saints in our own real world without any interesting of divine, so like what makes it divine? Again with the forces of hell. If these guys are just going to carry on like a bunch of backstabbing, bumbling princes, where is the horror from them? Where is the unethicalness? Where is the whole idea behind that these are not mortal human beings, that they are single-minded destroyers, but they don't have any single mind on anything but being pedantic assholes? And ultimately, that's just why I can't really get into Trench Crusade. There are aspects that I can really love about it and that I do adore, but again, I can never just fully sink my teeth into it, because every time I try and get immersed in it, I get reminded of that, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not right. I don't care for that. But again, not to be a negative Nancy and not to completely make this video to be like I'm trashing on Trench Crusade, there are some things that I love. As I mentioned before, I love New Antioch. I adore New Antioch. I love my big chunky powered armor boys. I adore the blending of both the medieval aspect of armor but also the World War I aesthetic. Love their shock troopers, are amazing. The Prussians are beautiful. I adore them. And then of course we have the Iron Sultanate. The Iron Sultanate, oh god, the Iron Sultanate. Dude, aesthetics. And one thing that I really do love about Trench Crusade is that they made it a global thing. There is an Ethiopian faction, there's a Prussian faction, there is a Mediterranean faction, there's even some remnants of the Byzantine Empire with the Varangian Guard, and they're going to expand this completely. They're starting initially with Europe, but the map is going to expand to everywhere. Like, every single country has some lore to it and some representation of it. I'm just hyped for when they get to India. And there's the Far East as well, and then maybe in the New Worlds with America, but America might not be colonizing. They include so much of the world. And I really do appreciate about that. And there's own unique factions, and their own factions have their own unique aspects, and it represents what they're supposed to be. I adore that, I truly do. But when I look at it in the grand scale and I see that on Earth you have these things that are done so beautifully, but the main crux of a divine versus the dreadful story, that being the divine and the dreadful, are not done right, it just falls apart. Ultimately, to sum up Trench Crusade, there are many individual elements that I absolutely adore. I love, and I absolutely love them. But the main overarching narrative, the main overarching world, the rules that are set in by the boundaries of the universe, I just don't agree with. I can't get jiggy with it, fam. I can't get immersed into it because it doesn't make a lick of sense to me. And whereas with me, I respond with, hey, there are things that I like, but I really just can't sink my teeth into it properly. To other people, they take this the complete 180 way, and they go that this is an affront, this is wrong, this is bad, this is everything, and that has led to some major controversies. Now, I don't think that the Trench Crusade team means anything by it. I really, honest to God, don't think so. I just thought if they had an idea, they ran with it, but in practice, it didn't really turn out the way they thought it would. But there are some things that did, and those I adore. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today's video. Let me know what you guys think down below. What do you guys think about Trench Crusade? Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you guys think about the aspects of the Dreadful and the Divine? Again, I believe that the Dreadful and the Divine are supposed to have this barrier of separation, and Trench Crusade just doesn't have that. So that's why I fall out of it. But do you guys think that's actually a strength of it, and is that why you love it so much? Or do you guys agree with me that it should be more like 40k, where there is a line that is drawn in the sand? But I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching, and even more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. Big shout out to my Officer Corps with Mr. Eddie V3, Miss Majora of the Void. Shout out to my Sergeant Tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith.Fireheart, Mr. Corns Butcher, Mr. Bulwin, Mr. Sean IRL 7, and Matthew Merrill. Big shout out to my Corporal Tier members, Tremail the Math Kitty, Mr. Lord Rosarius, Mr. Tech Priest Toaster, and Shauna Smithers. And finally, but certainly not least, massive thank you to my private tier members, Mr. Thomas Moslons, Mr. Ivan_SVW, Mr. Hotori's Curse, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Michael Hayeda, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortus Unum, and Mr. Gentle Salamander. Thank you, each and every one of you, for watching. I love it and appreciate it, means the world to me. If you guys do want to see more Trench Crusade, make sure to like this video, make sure to comment under it, give this video a good jump, give it a couple views, and if this video does well, then I'm not going to do like a full thing on Trench Crusade, but I'll definitely talk about New Antioch at least once, because again, I love them, favorite faction, do completely adore them. I may talk about some individual units I find cool, like I said, like the Prussians and the Iron Sultanate is great, but I don't know, it depends on how this video does. But regardless of that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a massive thank you guys for watching, but I've been the General Bradley 101, you've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. Y'all make sure to stay loyal out there, boys and gals, and I'll catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers. Also, I fucking hate the stigmatic nuns. They are dumb as fuck.